Hey everyone, it's Jill the Wandering Stamper. I hope you're having a fabulous day. I certainly am. We're enjoying some really beautiful weather and we're in the Boulder area now. So I wanted to show you today how to create this really simple W fold card, but I also wanted to incorporate into the front of this card a way to use your scraps in a really cool way. And I also wanted to show you how versatile the Iconic Imagery stamps and dies are. I wanted to show you how you can use them for several holidays to create cards. So this is a stamp set that's not just for the holidays, it's for all year round. And I just realized I'm wearing my Mimisaurus t-shirt. So this is in honor of my grandson who absolutely loves dinosaurs. I actually bought this shirt for his birthday party so I could wear it. But anyway, so enjoy that crazy shirt. Let me take a moment to turn down the camera and we'll get started. Thanks for joining me. Here are the products we're going to use to make this very cute card. This is going to be a fall card, but I'm also going to show you some samples that are also Christmas, New Year's, or possibly Christmas, and then also like an anniversary or birthday or something fun like that. So this really is a very versatile set. So let me show you what we're working with. We're going to be using fall colors, so I've grabbed Cajun Craze and Pecan Pie, and then a Garden Green and Mossy Meadow. So those are the stamp colors I've used. Then we're going to be using some of this gorgeous green natural linen thread. So these natural tone linen thread packs come in, it doesn't come with this one, I just have it in there. It comes with 3 different colors and they're great for fall, for birthday, for all year round. So we'll be using the green shade of that. And then I've also pulled some adhesive back metallic gems. Love these. They're silver, copper, gold, and they come in various sizes, so very pretty, and you can use these for so many of your cards. And then the paper is the gorgeous, well, let me show you the stamps. This is the Iconic Imagery stamp set. Look at this. So when you first look at it, you think Christmas, because I know this little snowflake pops out and you've got some trees and stuff, but this is actually something you can use all year round. It has Celebrate and Grateful. You can use that all year round. And then there's lots of words, so you can switch up the words. There's hearts, there's stars, there's leaves, trees, branches, candles, confetti, so many things that you can mix and match and create great cards. And then you can also use your sayings from some of your other stamp sets to go with these. Now also, if you get this Iconic Imagery stamp set, you got to get the dies. Now I have my dies on a sheet of magnet, so it's easy to get. There's some great tags that fit all the wording and lots of punches. So there's leaves, trees, flowers, and then there's some extra elements. There's little hearts, there's little stars, or these could be flowers. You've got the little holly berry die if you wanted to make this for Christmas. There's the candle die, the flame, lots and lots of stuff, and you can use it in lots of different ways. So I love this stamp set. I'm really happy with it, and I've used it for quite a few different cards. So with the Iconic Imagery stamps and dies, you can also get the entire suite, which includes the Iconic Celebrations Designer Series paper. Now, my other pack is shredded because I've used it so much. So I'm going to pull out this newer one so you can see. But as you can see, there's all kinds of designer papers. So you've got holidays, all kind of holidays, Halloween, fall, Christmas, New Year's, but you also have birthdays. Here's birthday candles, here's fireworks, we've got just stripes, like nice backgrounds. We've got things that are versatile. They're not just holiday. We've got these little leaves and berries. Those could be used all year round. This plaid is great for Christmas. These polka dots all year round, not just for fall. The acorns. So there's so many things. Look how cute this is. These hearts, these champagne glasses. So there's birthdays and anniversaries. So I love when you get a product that you can use well past the season that you might buy it in. So this is a really great set. And by the way, this is 6x6 Designer Series paper. So you could also use this with the Take a Bow die set and make your bows for cards all year round. So this is a really great set to have. All right, so we're going to be working with some fall colors. So we've got these pumpkins we're going to use. We're going to use the plaid, which is the other side. We're going to use these leaves. We're going to be using the green shades as well. And then the acorns and the polka dots. So you can kind of mix and match your paper and use it any way you like. So we'll be using that, and then I'm pairing it with pecan pie, Cajun craze, and basic beige paper. So these all pull together really nicely. So let me show you how to make this W fold card, and I'm also going to show you how to use scraps to your full advantage. So let's get started. I'm going to grab my paper trimmer first, and the first thing we're going to do is create our base. So I've decided to create my base in pecan pie. So your base is going to be 4 1/4 by 11. So I'm going to cut it at 4 1/4. And then you're going to rotate it and score it at 5 1/2. Okay, that's our card base. So your card is going to open like that. All right. So we're going to set that aside. Now, I like to build the front and then work on the inside. So our card front is going to have a couple of layers. I'm going to grab the Cajun craze, and I was looking to see if I had any scraps, but we're just going to go and cut some more paper. So we're going to do 4 by 5 1/4 for our card front. So 4 by 5 1/4. All right, and then we're going to also need a piece of our basic beige, which is great because you would use this in place of your basic white, but I wanted to do beige because there's more beige tones in this paper. So this is going to be 3 7/8 by, looking at my notes, 5 1/8, because I don't want to mess that up. So I'm just going to cut down to 5 1/8 on this one. Oh, I did that wrong. I did 2 7/8. Silly Jill. All right, so we're going to go 3 7/8. We're going to do this again. We're just going to do it like this, by 5 1/8. All right. So the way this will go is these 3 layers will go right on the card front, just like that. All right. And then I'm also going to want a strip to go across the front. So I'm going to cut a piece of Cajun craze, and I'm going to cut that at 3/4 by 5 1/8. Make sure I have 5 1/8 here. I do. So I'm going to do my 3/4. And I'm using the 3/4 mark over here so I can hold my paper. You can do either side, whichever you feel most comfortable. By 5 1/8. So 3/4 by 5 1/8. And then I'm going to do another piece of this basic beige, and I'm going to make it slightly smaller. So this one is going to be a 1/2 inch by 5 1/8. So 1/2 inch. I'm just going to make this because I'm probably going to do more cards, by 5 1/8. All right. And so these two are going to layer together just like that. All right. And now we're going to do some cutting for our designer series paper. So the front of this card is great because you use strips of paper. This is a great use of scraps, and I've gone through my paper to pull out pieces that are already scraps. So I've already cut on a lot of these. These are not full sheets. So I'm going to use, first of all, a strip of this. Now I'm going to want 2 strips of everything. This is 6 inches. So we're going to be doing 2 each. So we're going to do a 1/2 inch by 3 inches for each of these strips. And you want to be mindful of the direction of your paper. It is directional, so I'm going to cut this direction. So now I'm going to do, so it's a 1/2 inch by 3. So when you cut it in half, you get 2 pieces. So then the next pattern I want to do is I think I have a scrap, are my pumpkins. So we've got a 1/2 inch by 6. So we're going to do a 1/2 inch, and then 3, So we've got 2 of those, and I like to put those in the right direction so when I'm putting them on my paper, they're not upside down. And then the next one I'm going to do is polka dots. All right, so we've got like that. And then we have our other side of it, which is our acorns. And again, these are all a 1/2 inch by 3 inches, so I'm going to lay those out. And we need our fall leaves. You can also fill in with some cardstock if you want. You can mix and match your papers, but I wanted to show you using all products from the suite because it's so fun and versatile. All right, so that's all. So we just use little scraps. So if you keep your scraps, you'll find my other samples, I had enough scraps to create all my things from scraps. All right, so let me show you this. So this is ultimately going to go on this sheet. So what I want to do is I am just going to place these on here. I'm not gluing them down. I'm going to show you a trick. But I'm just going to lay these down. They don't have to be straight. I actually want them purposely to be a little crooked. And I'm just kind of making them messy. However you want to do it. So you need between 10 and 12 strips of paper, and it just depends on how close you end up putting them together. So I found that works pretty easily. Now if you want, you can put all the gaps so there's no gaps. I have some little gaps here and there, which I think are fine. But I mainly just want to make sure that it's going to fill the areas that I want it to fill on my cardstock. Now you noticed I didn't worry about how centered this is on the paper because I'm going to show you a trick, and I'm just getting this last piece. The main thing is you want to have it all laid out the way you want. Then you want to grab yourself a piece of this cling wrap. This is the press and seal. Love this stuff. So I've used this probably 7 or 8 times now. You just take a piece of press and seal and lay it down over top, and then once you have it on there, just smooth it out. Okay, so what's this is going to do, it's going to grab onto all of this. So now that your pieces are in place, you don't have to worry about gluing them all separately. So once I have that on there, I'm going to very carefully peel up my cardstock. And I've used this again a lot of times, and it's still sticky enough to do this. So now I've got all my cardstock peeled off. So I can take my glue gun or my adhesive, whatever you're using. Liquid glue is great for this. I'm using my little glue press, but you can use liquid glue. I would use liquid glue probably because you don't want anything to pull these up. And I'm just putting liquid glue on all of these pieces just to make sure everything has some liquid glue on it. And like I said, I use these press and seal sheets over and over. You can just fold them and put them in your stamp craft area. You can put them in a little container, whatever works. So now I'm going to grab that cardstock we cut, and I'm going to make sure it's the right way, and then I'm going to drop this down exactly where I'd like it to be, and then press it down. Okay? So now your glue is on there. Now I'm just going to carefully, now you do want to be careful if you press really hard, sometimes your paper could tear. I have had that happen, and I think it's just because I was pressing down a little too hard, not really paying attention to what I was doing. But it usually comes off pretty easy. So I'm just pulling this off, just like that, and there all my pieces are on there. So that's a lot easier to do than trying to get it all to stick yourself. Okay, now I would have probably liked to center that a little more, but it doesn't matter, it's fine, it's gonna look cute. All right, so now that I've got that on there, I'm gonna go ahead and start putting these layers together, and we'll finish our front, some of our front, and then we'll work on the inside. So I'm just gonna put a layer of liquid glue here and layer this on. I'm a liquid, oh, well, I said, geez, Jill, I am a liquid glue girl. You wouldn't know it by what I just did, but I do like liquid glue because I like that extra time you have to get everything even. So that looks good. So now I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. Just add my liquid glue. Make sure you're facing the right direction if you have directional paper strips on there, which I do. Okay. All right, so now this is going to go across the front, and I've already gone ahead, and you know me, I stink at stamping straight. So I went ahead and stamped Grateful on this piece. I cut an extra piece here. This is in basic beige, stamped with Cajun Craze. This is Cajun Craze. I also did For You in Cajun Craze on basic beige, and I cut this extra piece, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do with those. And then I went ahead and stamped in Pecan Pie, or actually Cajun Craze for the outline and Pecan Pie for the inside. I stamped off and then on to make it a little lighter. And then the leaves are stamped, the outline is stamped in Garden Green and filled in Mossy Meadow. So I went ahead and stamped and dyed these because you don't want to watch me die cut. That's just no fun. All right, so what I'd like to do first is I'm going to go ahead and grab my paper trimmer. And the reason why I cut an extra is because I wanted to cut this in half. So I am eyeballing just kind of to the middle. It doesn't have to be exact. And I'm just going to slice this in half, just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing for this piece. I'm going to just kind of eyeball the center. And you can use the lines on your cutter to do that. It makes it pretty easy. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to cut that. All right. And the reason I did that is because I want to create some layering right here. All right. So now that I've cut that, I'm just going to go ahead and put a small amount of liquid glue here. Let me get my silicone craft sheet out before I make a mess on my desk. All right, so I'm going to lay this down and just kind of put this, stick this here, and then I'll just pick it up and kind of get it where I want it. That looks good. So that just gives it a little bit more of an interesting edge. And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Just going to put a little bit of liquid glue. Lay this, this is why you use the silicone craft sheet. And now I'm going to put this down as well. So it just makes it more interesting. It's not just a plain piece of basic beige. Now it has some more color to it. So we're going to set this aside and let it dry. And we're going to do the same exact thing here. We're going to layer these. So I'm going to just add a little bit of liquid glue. Just like so. And I'm just going to adjust it until it's all straight. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the top. You can do this with so many of your dies. So if you don't have a die that layers, that has a smaller size to it that you can, create layers with, this is a hack how to do this. So you can just make your own layers. So you just kind of eyeball it and see what looks good. I'm going to make mine a little bit lower. That looks pretty good. Okay. So now I can add my For You right here and it really pops. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some dimensionals. And got some edges. Go put some of those right there. just like that. Peel these papers off. And I'm going to see where I want to put that. I'll put that right there. So it's just a little bit more interesting than just being stamped. All right, so then the next thing I can do is layer some of these other pieces. Now, if this was a Christmas card, you could do this in greens, and there's some holly berries that you can add to the middle, but this is going to be a fall card. So all I'm doing is taking my pieces, and I'm going to just figure out where do I want to put these. So I just want to have a cluster of these. So I'm just kind of figuring out, what do I want to do? I think this definitely needs to go in the back like that. So you just kind of arrange it until you're happy with it. I think I might actually just, I'll leave that one out. Just do that, okay? So once you're happy with it, then you can just glue it down. Just like that. You could use more dimensionals if you wanted to. I'm not going to. I think this will be enough. But I liked giving it a little bit more color, and that was kind of where my mind was going when I actually did my sample, my kind of before the video sample. Completely different, and I'll show you that one. Just adding a little dab of glue to these leaves. And see, we're kind of sticking to earth tones. So there we go, that looks nice. So now this is ultimately going to go over this, but I feel like I need to do something over here. So I'm going to grab, I pull out all of my stamps ahead of time. I just like to do it that way just because it is easier for me to kind of plan what I'm doing. So I am looking at it to see, I think I'm just going to add these leaves. So let's get a piece of paper. Let's move this out of the way. And I think what I'm going to do is grab that Cajun Craze. And we'll just go ahead and add a little bit of leaf to it. Just here and there. Okay, so it's not plain. All right, I'm gonna stamp off. Let me show you a little trick I've been doing that's been working out really well. I tend to only use half of my stamp cleaner. So what I've been doing lately, and this works really well here in Colorado, everything dries so fast. So what I do is I clean my stamp off, and then I stick this big block over where I sprayed my Stampin' Mist, and it keeps the Stampin' Mist from drying out while I'm working. So there's a little tip for you if you're interested. If you find that your stamp pad, your Stampin' Mist is drying off of your stamp cleaner before you're really done stamping with it. So that works really well. So I'm going to do a little bit of fill with the other leaf stamp. So I'm going to stamp it in Pecan Pie, and I'm going to stamp off and then just line these up. It's really easy to do, just to give them a little filling so they're a little more interesting. Okay, all right, clean that off. There we go. All right, we're gonna move this out of the way. Bring back in our pad. So now I'm gonna go ahead and glue this to our Cajun Craze strip. Now this we haven't even gotten to the W fold yet, but I wanted to show you how easy this card front, you could do this just as a simple card front. But it's a great way to utilize all those scraps. If you're at the end of a pack of paper, but you really love it and you don't want to ditch it, well, you can cut it up, use these scraps, and make a simple card front with it. So I know how much paper costs, and I know it's expensive, and you don't want to waste it. So if those strips are too small for other things, this is something they'll work for. So now we're just going to add this to our front. So I'm going to just, normally I would put this on here with dimensionals, but because I have dimensionals on this piece, I'm not going to use any other dimensionals. So I'm going to go ahead and just load it up with some liquid glue. Pop that on the front. Actually, I'll do that. The other piece, I was planning on using some ribbon, but let's see what else we need. I did have this ribbon here, but I'm not even sure we need it now. So we'll wait, we may not need it. I was going to add some ribbon behind this for you, but don't know if I can feed it through there, so we're not going to worry about it. It looks good. All right, let's go ahead and add some gold to the front. I'm going to use a big one and a couple small ones just to give it a little glimmer. You could also put them up here if you wanted to. All right, the outside of our card is pretty much done, so let's work on the inside. All right, so we've got a very plain inside, don't we? So now we want to create something interesting for the middle, and this is where our W fold is going to come in. So I'm going to grab my paper cutter again, and remember we have this diamond pattern of paper, so I've grabbed 2 of those, and you're going to want to we're going to create the inside of our card, so I wanted to give it some design. So we're going to use, the inside is going to be 4 by 5 1/4. So 4 by 5 1/4. And so if you're making a card, these extra strips would be what you would also use if you didn't have strips to create the strips that are in the front. All right, so these are our insides of our card, so we've got that. And then the next thing we want to cut is our W fold piece. So we're going to grab some pecan pie. And then we're going to need a 1 3/4 by 11-inch piece of pecan pie. And I chose pecan pie because I like to make the middle piece most of the time the same color as the base. All right, so 1 3/4 by 11, and you're gonna score it at 2 3/4, 5 1/2, and 8 1/2. All right, or I'm sorry, 8 1/4. So 2 3/4, 5 1/2, and 8 1/4. I'm actually just gonna flip it around and score it at 2 3/4 because it's basically 2 3/4 from this end and 2 3/4 from this end and 5 1/2 in the middle. So in the directions I'll tell you 2 3/4, 5 1/2, and 8 1/4. But I don't have to bring my arm out this way and have it in your way. So there's that. And then we want to create some panels that are going to attach to this. So I'm going to do the panels in Cajun Craze, and those are going to be 2 1/4 by 2 3/4, and you're going to need 4 of them. I think this piece is long enough. 2 1/4 by 2 3/4. I'm utilizing my scraps here. So 2 1/4 by 2 3/4. This is a great way to use your scraps as well. Just dig through your paper and see see what scraps you have. And a lot of time you'll find you have enough scraps to create this card. This piece was just long enough. So there we go. There's our 4. And then I need 4 pieces of the basic beige. See if I've got this scrap here. And those are going to be 2 by 2.5, so they're just slightly smaller. So 2.5 by 2, and again you're going to want 4. You could do 2 and then do 2 pieces of designer series paper as well, and you'll see some samples where I've done that. I did say 2.5, right? Yes, 2 by 2.5. I need 1 more. So 2 by 2.5. So there we go. We've got 4. All right, that's all our paper cutting. So now I'm going to show you how to put this together. So here is that strip for the W fold, 1 3/4 by 11, scored at 2 3/4, 5 1/2, and 8 1/4. So you're going to fold these so you have a valley fold, a mountain fold, and a valley fold. That's where you get your W. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and give this a nice little burnish with the bone folder, and that's going to go on the inside of our card. So with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and open this up, and our 2 pieces that we cut are going to go right here in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and put some liquid glue on those. And you could use cardstock here, you can use designer series paper, you could use some pretty specialty papers. You could even leave this blank and just stamp on this with some pattern. You could do so many things. You could get another contrasting piece of cardstock and emboss it and lay it on here. There's lots of ways you could do this card. And as I was making these cards and these samples, I kept thinking, ooh, I could do this, ooh, I could do that. But I kept reminding myself, no, I'm just showing them how to use iconic celebrations. So I had to keep myself reined in. But this was a lot of fun to work with. So I'm putting some glue on this panel here. And what I'm going to do is this panel will fit completely across your paper because remember, it's 11 inches wide, and so is our card. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it and getting it as close to the center as possible and gluing it down, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and add my liquid glue. And then I'm going to squish it down on the other side. Pretty easy. So there is our W fold, okay? All right, so then the next thing we want to do is lay out our pieces. So this is going to go on these panels here, just like this. But we don't want them to be plain, that's boring. So we're going to go ahead and do some stamping. So I'm going to start left to right, and since this doesn't really have any sentiments, I'm going to put the You're Simply the Best from Carrying Leaves on this left panel, because remember the front says grateful for you, so I thought this went really well. So I'm going to grab my Cajun Craze, stamp it up, ink it up, and I'm going to stamp this toward the top, hopefully centered, hopefully straight, just like that. All right, clean that off. And see, normally my stamp cleaner would already be wet, but because I have that little block sitting over it, we're still good. So that makes me really happy. All right, so that is going to be this panel. And then I think in the 2 middle panels, I'm going to go ahead and do those leaves. So I'm going to grab my Garden Green and my Mossy Meadow. I'm going to start with my Garden Green, which is my darker shade, and my outline stamp. And I'm going to grab these 2 pieces. Now you could put them together and just stamp them both at the same time if you want. I want my leaves falling, so I'm going to hold my leaf so it's upside down. And I'm just going to let them fall wherever they want. I just want to give it some visual interest. And you can use designer series paper for these middle panels if you want. You can even leave them blank if you're somebody who writes a lot of stuff in your cards. Totally do that. It's your card, you make it the way you want it. So I am just making these leaves fall. All right, maybe we'll put a little piece here, and I think that's enough. So now I'm going to grab the inside piece and the Mossy Meadow. Now, if you're not sure how dark you want it, stamp it and see how it looks. My Mossy Meadow is getting a little dry, so I don't have to worry about it being too dark for sure. But I'm just going to go through there and add the fill, just like that. And these are really easy to line up, and even if they're slightly off, it still looks super cute. Put these together. See, when you do it that way, you actually have to do the second step less, because you can just match up your pieces, which is nice. That's done. So just this one little step, super simple, and it still complements the card really well because you have this leaf in your designer series paper. All right, so that's done. Let me clean it off and put my little block back in place. All right, now we're ready to put this together. Now the last thing I want to do is, we're going to put this here and here. I have this little stamp with a heart, and I have the word you. So the last thing I thought, which was really sweet, because I usually end up my phone calls with family and friends with a love you. Traveling full time, I like to make sure I tell people that because I don't get to see them very often. So I'm just going to put you. I like to do the word first so that I know, oh, I dropped my little tiny stamp. So I know exactly where to put that heart. So now I'm going to grab it's just the outline, and I'm going to put that right there. Look how cute. So that's going to go there. All right, done stamping. So let's finish this card up. So now we just have to glue all these layers on. Just like so. Make sure your leaves are facing the right direction. If they're falling, you don't want them upside down. See, I love how they kind of go together. Fun and easy. All right, so that's that. So now that they're laid out, all we have to do is glue them onto here. So I know that when I center these, I'm going to have these two strips of cardstock showing. So I want to make sure I don't go too far to the right or left with my glue. So I just kind of make a little box where I think this is going to go. And then I'm just going to put that on there as straight as possible and as centered as possible. All right, and then I'm just repeating the same thing 3 more times. and just make sure that they're the same height, as close to the same height. You can't really tell if they're a little off, but you want to have them close to the same height. Okay, and last but not least, so as you can see, this is a really simple card. You can make any card front you want, any of your favorite card fronts, and you can use your designer series paper to make the inside work. So there we go. You're simply the best. Love you. And you have plenty of room to write here and here. You could even write on all four if you want. Just put that there, leave these blank, and you have plenty of room to write. All right, so let me show you the other cards that I made. So this is the one we just created, and I didn't get the ribbon on there, but I feel like that's okay. It looks super cute. Here was the sample I made earlier, and I used the dies from the Stylish Shapes, and I used the 2 rectangles, and I used some different gems on there, but it's basically, other than that, the same card. And as you can see, I just kind of jumbled up some of that green thread underneath to pull it all together, but I did the inside exactly the same. So it's just slightly different. All right, let me show you this next card. So this is sort of, could be Christmas or New Year's. And I used different papers, but it's the same papers from that pack. I added some snowflakes, and I also die cut a few extra pieces of the snowflake die so I could layer them behind this white so it doesn't get lost. Super pretty. And on the inside, instead of stamping the middle, I used designer series paper, but then I pulled in those stars and stamped them. And you can write right over this because it's light enough. And it says Peace, Joy, Love. Love this card. I think this is one of my favorites. Oh, and instead of that strip of paper, I used a piece of the pecan pie ribbon instead and layered that over the balmy blue, or the boho blue paper. Super cute. All right, and then my next card is a Christmas card. It says the exact same thing, celebrate the season, but I just changed up the paper, used cherry cobbler moody mauve, and I fussy cut the word celebrate and added some of this pretty cherry cobbler and gold ribbon underneath and added some gold embellishments. So super cute card. And in the front, I used Peace and Joy from that same stamp set. And I stamped, instead of background paper, I stamped my basic white cardstock with Mossy Meadow, Moody Mauve, and Cherry Cobbler to create the trees and the stars. So I created my own background paper. And then this saying, hoping this season is bright and beautiful, comes from Peaceful Season, which I absolutely love for my sentiments for my holiday cards. So that is where that saying came from. So use your sayings in your other stamps. It works perfectly. And then one more bonus card. This one could be a birthday or anniversary or wedding or anything. It says, let's celebrate you. And I just simply fussy cut little rectangles here and here for that. And I fussy cut the word celebration. I added some silver ribbon, super pretty. I stamped a couple of hearts here to pull in the hearts that are in the paper. And then on the inside, I used Lots of Love from the Pocket Thoughts dies because I thought it went so well. I stamped hearts for the background to pull in all these other hearts and added a heart here. Super simple. It only took me minutes to make this, but look how pretty it is. So there you go. There are 5 cards. And I didn't even touch upon the birthday with the birthday candles. I didn't even do the starbursts, the fireworks, the gold tone cards. Like there's probably 2 or 3 more holidays or occasions I can get out of this. Valentine's Day. I didn't even get to that, but I wanted to show you how versatile these products are. So I hope you get a chance to take a look at this set. Don't forget it is in the mini catalog, so it won't be here forever. I believe it's mini catalog or it's an online exclusive. Goodness, I need to look. But don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you don't already, and click on the link to my blog because it will have all the cutting and scoring measurements for this card. So that way when you recreate it, you can just go there and jot down all of those instructions yourself. And I will also have inside and outside pictures of all these cards. So thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoyed showing you this W fold card with Iconic Imagery. I hope to see you next Wednesday and have a fabulous, fabulous week. Happy crafting. See you later.